Mic check. Good afternoon, members, staff, and the viewing public. I hereby call this second day first regular session to order. Let the records reflect. Today is February 14th, 2025, Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Time is 1:16 p.m. here in the Senate chamber of the Honorable Jesus P. Mafnas Memorial Building. It is an honor to welcome everybody. Before we proceed, I respectfully request from everybody to please place their cellular device on silent mode or switch them off. Today's session is being streamed live for the viewing public on channel 23, cable TV, our Senate YouTube channel, and our Facebook page. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Babalta,
Presente.
Senator Calvo,
Present.
Senator Castro, Senator Cruz,
Here.
Senator Hofschneider,
Gaye.
Senator King Neighbors,
Here.
Senator Magofnia,
Present.
Senator Manglonia.
Present.
Mr. President,
Present.
Mr. President, 8 members present and 1 member absent.
Thank you, Clerk. With 8 members present for today's session, this constitutes a quorum to conduct today's session. Let the record reflect, Senator Castro is hereby excused. Before we move any further, allow me to recognize our supporting staff. Acting as Senate Clerk, we got Chanel Borja. Legal Counsel, we got Antoinette Villagomez. Our Fiscal Analyst, we got Dave Demapon. We got Legislative Assistant, we got Jolene Tagbell. We got IT Manager, Jonathan Diaz. We got our Youth Congress Coordinator, Mr. LJ Castro. We now move to item B, and I recognize the floor leader. I'm sorry. May I please ask everybody for a moment of silence? Thank you. Thank you, floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move to suspend Senate Interim Rule 3, Section 3, to amend the agenda to add new items.
Second.
There is a motion to suspend pertinent rules, and it was seconded. All in favor of that motion, say aye. All opposed, say nay. I take it back. Roll call. Clerk.
Senator Babalta,
Yes.
Senator Calvo,
Yes.
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator Hofschneider,
Again.
Senator King Neighbors,
Yes.
Senator Magofnia,
Yes.
Senator Manglonia.
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Mr. President, all members, 8 members voting yes.
With 8 members voting yes, this constitutes a passage or to suspend pertinent rules. We now move to public comments. Pursuant to Senate rule, please limit your comments to 5 minutes. You may also submit a copy of your testimony in writing if you wish to do so. For the record, please state your full name and the item on the agenda you wish to make a comment on.
Good afternoon, half days Antiro, Mr. Senate President Dennis C. Mendiola, and honorable Senate members of the 24th Northern Marianas Commonwealth Legislature. For record purposes, my name is Jean Paul Binaventi Regis, Special Projects Coordinator under the Office of the Governor. Due to a conflicting schedule, the Special Assistant for Administration, Mr. Oscar M. Babalta, sends his regret for not attending today's session, and on behalf of Governor Arno I. Palacios and Lieutenant Governor David M. Apatang, I thank you for the opportunity to appear before you here today. And As you see, unexpectedly, the governor's here, so I'm speaking on behalf. I am here to extend the administration's appreciation and express our gratitude to you, Mr. Senate President, and to your Committee on Executive Appointments and Government Investigations, chaired by the Honorable Senator Mr. Francisco Q. Cruz, and members, for your diligent work, unwavering time, and effort in reviewing and examining our most recent nominee. This afternoon, you'll be entertaining Standing Committee Report 24-01, the executive appointment of Mr. Barley A. Jackson to serve as a member of the Commonwealth Ports Authority Board of Directors, representing the 3rd Senatorial District of Saipan. We commend Mr. Jackson for his commitment and dedication to serving our great Commonwealth. Mr. Senate President Mendiola and honorable members of the Senate August body, it is for this reason that our Governor Arno I. Palacios, and Lieutenant Governor David M. Apateng extends their sincere appreciation and generous for your favorable consideration on behalf of our appointee here today. Thank you, Jesus Mosi Zangiliso.
Thank you, Mr. Regis. Any other public comments? If there's no, please state your full name for the record and the item on the agenda you would be addressing. Thank you.
Mr. President and honorable senators, my name is Vin Armani. I'm the founder of Badger LLC and the Chief Technology Officer of Marianas Rycorp, software companies incorporated and operating in CNMI. I also serve as the president of the Trade Council of the Marianas. And today I'm honored to have the opportunity to give public comment to this distinguished body, not only as a business owner and entrepreneur who believes in the promise of mutual prosperity for CNMI and members of the global digital economy such as myself, but also as a husband and father who has made the choice to raise my family in the Commonwealth. I'm before you in support of 3 bills being introduced today, SB 2415, SB 2416, and SB 2417. The Marianas Variety published a good piece this morning on the specifics of these bills, so I'll use my time to discuss their significance and the significance of the efforts that Senator Karina Magofnia has made and continues to make toward economic diversification. Almost exactly 1 year ago, I was given the honor of presenting to members of this body on an initiative my company was launching to answer the question of why there was not more foreign investment in CNMI, why more businesses, particularly US-based businesses, weren't choosing to domicile in the Commonwealth. At the time I presented, Senator Magofnia had just introduced a version of the bill that is now SB 2416. Over the last year, we have marketed CNMI to many businesses and registered and licensed some of those businesses, making their operations legal within the Commonwealth. We've come to understand many of the crucial bottlenecks in statute, in regulation, and in relationships with the private sector, particularly in banking. We have presented our findings to stakeholders in the Departments of Finance and Commerce, to the full board of CEDA, to the majority of the members of the House and Senate, to mayors and municipal council members, to the governor, to top financial professionals in the CNMI, and to the people in presentations open to and attended by members of the public. We formed the Trade Council of the Marianas to address these issues, and Senator Magofnia has given her time and attention, not only to the legislative portion of the solution, but to every aspect. We are incredibly appreciative and grateful for that. The bills being introduced are small changes, but they will have massive impacts on our ability to attract and retain U.S. companies that we want to domicile and pay taxes in CNMI. And let me assure you, businesses want to. They have told us so in no uncertain terms. The impact of these companies basing operations in CNMI is not just significant sustained revenue via taxes, but greater opportunities for employment with mainland level wages and benefits, especially for our most talented local youth. As the father of 2 young girls, the most hopeful aspect of these initiatives is that when my children reach adulthood, they might not have to leave Saipan in search of opportunity, but could instead find opportunity here. I know that there are members of this body and people in the gallery as well who feel the same way and who have children and grandchildren living in the mainland who they would love to see be able to move back and be productive and prosperous in their careers close to family. Mr. President, these are important bills. 2 of the bills, SB 2415 and SB 2417, are incredibly straightforward, require no additional budget, give no new authority. The Trade Council of the Marianas humbly asks that these bills not be sent to committee and instead asks that you bring them to the floor for a vote at the soonest opportunity so that we don't waste precious time in the move toward greater economic diversity and prosperity for the Commonwealth. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Armani. Any other comments?
Honorable Senators, thank you for this time. My name is Joshua Cook. I run Pacific Pact LLC and am the Vice President of the Trade Council of the Marianas. As Vin mentioned, we have been working with businesses over the last several years and more rigorously over the last year. And we have seen some roadblocks, and Bill 2415, 16, and 17 address some of these roadblocks. I have been on the island for 4 years. It has been the best experience imaginable for my family and I. And these islands and these people have truly changed us. I initially came to work on the tax software that Department of Rev and Tax is developing. That required that I gain an intimate understanding of the tax system here. I came to work for a company. I since started Pacific Pact and have been asked to work on other projects at Departments of Finance, Commerce, and Corrections, and been working closely with those cabinet members, those stakeholders, to affect department-wide change. And as I have done that, I have seen opportunities for CNMI, a superpower that we're all aware of. We know the covenant has some incredible powers, and what these bills will allow us to do is to unlock those powers. Some of these things they seem insignificant, but they are still a roadblock. They might be small, but they're still a roadblock for businesses to operate and effectively do business, and to more profitably do business here. While my experience here in the CNMI has been incredible, and while I've not been disappointed by the people or the culture, my hopes for CNMI's boasted tax structure were met with reality, that doing business in the CNMI means more taxes than any of the states in the United States. Yes, the rebate benefits individuals, but the BGRT crushes most businesses. So Bill 2416 addresses a way for the CNMI to attract low-impact businesses and from multi-billion-dollar industries by making certain activities exempt from the BGRT. And the economic benefit of attracting these industries far outweighs the minimal impact on BGRs. Related to 2415, the filing number, like I said, it seems insignificant, but it is the difference between a business operating here and not operating here. Being able to set up a bank account that they need and not setting up that bank account. And finally, regarding 2417, the amending of the name of the free trade zone relates to some firsthand experiences we've already had with businesses as we have worked to help present names to be appointed to the board. We have already seen interest from businesses who want to get a free trade zone license. However, according to what the intent of that law was, it's not attracting the types of businesses that it was meant to. Now, those businesses can benefit from the free trade zone license, but it's meant to be focused on high profit margin businesses, technology-based businesses, knowledge workers. And so the change of the name of the free trade zone is actually changing to the intent of the law. It's not changing just for a branding purpose. It actually will attract the right types of businesses. And I could share some personal anecdotes from businesses that were confused. I was confused about what the Free Trade Zone Act actually does. I know many others have. But when we look at the intent of the law, the change...
Mr. Cook, your time is up.
Thank you.
Please wrap it up.
I support these bills. I thank you for your time. And I truly believe that these will help unleash the powers of the covenant and the economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Any other public comments to be made? If there's no other comment, I now close the public comments of the agenda. Moving on to item C, reading and approval of the journal. Recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move for the adoption of Senate Journal 24-01, organizational session dated January 13, 2025.
Second.
Thank you, floor leader. There's a motion offered by the floor leader to adopt Senate Journal 24-01. It was seconded. Any discussions from the member? All those in favor of adopting Senate Journal 24-01, say aye. Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. If there's no objections from the members, I'd like to move down to item M of our agenda so we can dispose of Mr. Bartley Jackson's nomination. If there's no objection, item M, reports of standing committee. I recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I would like to, or move to adopt Standing Committee Report number 24-01 from the Committee on Executive Appointments and Government Investigations, reporting on the executive appointment of Mr. Bartley A. Jackson to serve as a member of the Commonwealth Ports Authority Board of Directors representing the 3rd Senatorial District.
Thank you for the motion, Mr. Floor Leader. Before I call for the vote, can I bring Mr. Bartley Jackson up to the front, please? Not yet, not yet. I'll call it. Thank you, Mr. Jackson. There's a motion offered by the floor leader, and it was seconded. Any discussions from the members? I recognize the chairman. I recognize, I'll recognize Senator Babauta.
Cesar Masi, Mr. President. I just ask for future standing committee reports that the resume of the individual candidate and at least the financial report required by OPA be included. I was looking for it this morning. I don't know the background of Mr. Bartley, but I'm ready to support. I just ask that it be included in future committee reports.
Noted. Any other comments, discussion? I recognize Senator Cruz, chairman of the EAGI committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, your Committee on Executive Appointment and Government Investigation are ready to present Standing Committee Report number 24-01. And this is in reference of the executive appointment of Mr. Bartley A. Jackson to serve as a member of the Common Ports Authority Board of Directors representing the island of Saipan. Your Committee on Executive Appointment and Government Investigations, to which was referred the appointment of Mr. Jackson to serve as a member of the Commonwealth Ports Authority Board of Directors representing the 3rd Senatorial District, begs to leave to report as follows. After review and consideration of the testimonies provided, your committee recommends the confirmation of Mr. Jackson's executive appointment to serve as a member of the Commonwealth Ports Authority Board of Directors representing the 3rd Senatorial District. Pursuant to Rule 8, Section 5 of the Interim Rules of the Senate, it is the duty and purpose of your committee to report to the Senate for legislative action pertaining to the appointment of Mr. Jackson to serve as a member of the Commonwealth Ports Authority Board of Directors representing the 3rd Senatorial District. Your committee has examined all pertinent documents relating to the executive appointment of Mr. Jackson's overall credentials to serve as a member of the Commonwealth Ports Authority. In summation of all written and oral testimonies provided to the committee, there are 4 oral testimonies in support of the appointee, of which 2 hard copies of the testimonies stated were submitted during the hearing. 2 written testimony in support of the appointee and no written or oral testimonies in opposition of the appointee. Additionally, your committee stated several recommendations, issues, and concerns to the appointee that are included in this report. Therefore, based on the overall assessment of Mr. Jackson's credential, experiences, testimonies, and other relevant issues considered, your committee respectfully recommends the confirmation of Mr. Jackson to serve as a member of the Commonwealth Ports Authority Board of Directors representing the 3rd Senatorial District. The public hearing was conducted on February 6, 2025 in the Senate chamber of the Honorable Sus P. Mapnas Memorial Building, Capitol East Saipan. And during the hearing, certain recommendations, issues, and concerns were raised for the appointee to address and look into if confirmed as a member of the Commonwealth Ports Authority Board of Directors. And in conclusion, all the required documents are in conformance to 8 Section 5 of the interim rules of the Senate have been submitted to the committee for review and consideration, as well as to the Senate Legal Counsel, and based on the review of the materials submitted, including drug test result, criminal records, and the statement of financial disclosure, the committee concludes that it did not find anything that will be inconsistent with the constitutional or statutory provision of the Commonwealth law. With this nomination in accordance with 2 CMC subsection 2123, and if confirmed, Mr. Barley A. Jackson will serve the remainder of an unexpired term vacant by Mr. Jose Azuzu, whose term expires on October 7, 2027. Therefore, your committee recommend the confirmation of Mr. Bartley A. Jackson to serve as a member of the Commonwealth Ports Authority Board of Directors representing the 3rd Senatorial District. Again, I kindly ask the full body of this Senate to support Standing Committee Report number 24-01. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Any other comments? Clerk, call the roll.
Senator Babauta,
Yes.
Senator Calvo,
Yes.
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator Hofschneider,
Good.
Senator King Neighbors,
Yes.
Senator Magofnia,
Yes.
Senator Manglonia.
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Mr. President, all 8 members present voting yes.
Thank you, Clerk. With 8 voting yes, Standing Committee Report 24-01 is hereby adopted, confirming Mr. Bart Lee Jackson to serve as the board member of the CPA. Congratulations, Mr. Jackson. Short recess, please. recess. Moving on our agenda, item D, communications from the governor. Clerk.
Mr. President, we have governor's message numbers 24-01 through 24-14.
Any comments from the members?
Press.
Recognize Senator Hofschneider.
Thank you, Mr. President, and Mr. Governor, welcome back to the Senate. I wish to express appreciation on behalf of the Tinian Legislative Delegation, Tinian leadership, and the community of Tinian for the approval of Governor's Message 24-07, Tinian Local Law 23-21, as well as Governor's Message 24-14, Tinian Local Law 23-22. You back.
Thank you, Senator. Any other comments from the members? Recognize Senator Magofnia.
Thank you, Chair, Senate President. I'd like to express my appreciation to our Governor, Arnold Palacios, for enacting into law my Senate Bill number 23-54, which is now Public Law number 23-32, to regulate OFUC or BWISH under the Pure Food and Drug Control Act. So, Sidus Moasi, Governor, for enacting my bill into law. Thank you, Chair. President, I yield.
Thank you, Senator Magofnia. Recognize Senator Manglonia.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would also like to thank the governor for signing into law Senate Bill 2367, which allows the Healthcare Professions Licensing Board to promulgate regulations for the licensing physicians licensed to practice in a foreign country. As you know, this has been brought up by CHCC and has been supported by the community to address the shortage of healthcare professions here in our CNMI. Particularly, I know there's bigger challenges on Rhoda and Tinian, and so hopefully, once the regulations are promulgated, we can invite and bring in foreign professions to service our outer islands. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Manglonia. Recognize Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would also like to express my gratitude and appreciation to Governor Palacios, to Governor Apatang, for approving Senate Bill 23-17, House Draft 1, and now became Public Law 23-34. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Cruz. I think we're all in the spirit of thanking the governor since he's here. So let me just jump on that and just say thank you, Governor, for approving a lot of these bills that our dear senators have introduced. We truly appreciate it. Any other comments from the members? Moving on. Item F, communications from the department heads. Clerk.
Mr. President, we have department message numbers 24-01 and 24-02.
Thank you, Clerk. Comments from the members? Okay, moving on to the next item on our agenda. Item G, communications from the House. Clerk.
Mr. President, we have House Communication 24-01 and House Communication 24-02.
Thank you, Clerk. With two items now on our House communication, I recognize the floor leader to make the proper motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move to suspend Senate Interim Rule 6, Section 2, to allow for the placement of bills and resolutions on today's agenda.
Second. Thank you, floor leader. There's a motion to suspend rules to place these communications on bill calendar. It was seconded. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Babauta,
Yes.
Senator Calvo,
Yes.
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator Hofschneider,
I'm good.
Senator King Neighbors,
Yes.
Senator Magofnia,
Yes.
Senator Manglonia.
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Mr. President, all 8 members present voting yes.
Thank you, Clerk. With 8 members voting yes, this constitutes a approval or adoption to move these communications to the calendar or bill calendar for action. I recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. With that, I move to place House Concurrent Resolution 24-1 entitled to approve revenues and resources of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands as identified pursuant to Article 3, Section 9A of the Constitution as amended in 1 CMC Division 7 for fiscal year 2025 beginning October 1, 2024 and ending on September 30, 2025 on today's resolution calendar.
Second.
Thank you, floor leader. There's a motion to move House Concurrent Resolution to resolution calendar, and it was seconded. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Babalta,
Yes.
Senator Calvo,
Yes.
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator Hofschneider,
Good.
Senator King Neighbors,
Yes.
Senator Magofnia,
Yes.
Senator Maglonia.
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Mr. President, all 8 members voting yes.
Thank you, clerk. With 8 members voting yes, this constitutes an adoption to move, or a passage to move the concurrent resolution to the resolution calendar. Next item on the agenda, or one more. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move to place House Bill number 24-6 HD1 to amend the Appropriations and Budget Authority Act of fiscal year 2025, Public Law 23-26, to appropriate the balance of funds allocated for the minimum annual payment to the settlement fund and to return government employees subject to austerity to 100% work hours and for other purposes.
Second.
Thank you, floor leader. There's a motion offered by the floor leader to place House Bill 24-06 on bill calendar, and it was seconded. Any discussions from the member?
Ready.
Clerk, call the roll.
Senator Babalta,
Hungan.
Senator Calvo,
Yes.
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator Hofschneider,
Good.
Senator King Neighbors,
Yes.
Senator Magofnia,
Yes.
Senator Maglonia.
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Mr. President, all 8 members voting yes.
Thank you, clerk. With 8 members voting yes, House Bill 24-06 is now moved to bill calendar. Next item on the agenda.
Mr. President, if I may be recognized.
Recognize Senator Hofschneider.
If I'm not out of order, Mr. President, may I respectfully request that we dispose of Agenda O and Agenda P?
Is there any objections from the member?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, one objection. I believe there's one resolution that we're going to also place on today's calendar.
I
Thank you.
extend my apologies, Mr. President. I yield back, but yes, thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hofschneider. Moving on to the next item of our agenda. Item H, communications from the Senate. Clerk.
Mr. President, we have Senate communication numbers 24-01 through 24-25.
Discussions from the members. Moving on. Next item on our agenda. Item K, or item I, communication from the CNMI delegate. Clerk.
Mr. President, we have 1 CNMI delegate communication numbers 24-01.
Thank you, clerk. Any discussions from the member? Thank you. Moving on, item K, pre-filed bill, initiatives, local bills, and resolution. I'm just gonna go ahead down the list and recognize each senators to introduce their bills. I'll start with Senator Babauta to introduce Senator Manny's bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I formally introduce Senate Bill 2404 to advance the Indigenous, Chamorro, and Carolinian language education in the CNMI, offered by Senator Manny Gregorio T. Castro, and I welcome other sponsors to the bill. Secondly, Senate Bill 2405 to establish a fire reserve corps to assist the Department of Fire and Emergency Services and to the Commonwealth Ports Authority, aircraft rescue and firefighting, in fire prevention and suppression, rescue operations, basic and advanced life support, and for other purposes. Also introduced by Senator Manny Castro, and I welcome other sponsors. Third, Senate Bill 2406 to authorize the CNMI Department of Corrections to pay inmates and establish work programs, offered by Senator Manny Castro, and I welcome other sponsors. Senate Bill 2407 to establish a police reserve unit within the Department of Public Safety, offered by Senator Manny Castro, and I welcome other sponsors. Lastly, for Senator Manny Castro, Senate Bill 2408 to amend certain provisions of the CNMI Recycling Act of 1999 to establish the Department of Public Works as its proper authority and for other purposes. So introduced, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Babauta. You want to go ahead and proceed with your bills?
Thank you. I have two bills that I have introduced. First, Senate Bill number 2409, Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands Captive Insurance Bill of 2025. And I would like to respectfully ask if this could be moved to the bill calendar. There is no amendments that was offered. It was simply not entertained during the lame duck term last legislature. And if there are no objections, in light of it not possibly making it on the bill calendar, I would like to ask that it be placed on the bill calendar for next session at least. And secondly, my bill, Senate Bill 2414, to temporarily suspend the collection of certain charges by the Commonwealth Utilities Corporation and for other purposes. I also welcome other sponsors to this bill. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield.
Thank you, Senator Babauta. I recognize Senator Magofnia.
Thank you, Mr. President. Formally introducing Senate Bill number 24-12 to enhance fiscal responsibility and transparency in the development and updating of the comprehensive land use plan and for other purposes. Also introducing Senate Bill number 24-13 to enact a whistleblower protection provision for the Commonwealth government employees reporting on prohibited personnel practices, to provide whistleblower rewards for individuals who report underpayments of taxes, to clarify the mechanism for the payment of rewards for disclosures leading to the recovery of public funds, and for other purposes. Also introducing Senate Bill number 24-15 to amend 4 CMC subsection 4266 to add a filing number to incorporation filings, to amend 4 CMC subsection 4269 to create an internet portal for public search of corporate existence by filing number and for other purposes. Also introducing Senate Bill number 24-16 to promote trade and investment economic development and diversification in the CNMI, to encourage foreign and domestic investments through incentives and streamline processes, as well as to promote the CNMI as a trade and investment hub and for other purposes. And last but not least, Senate Bill number 24-17 to globally amend divisions 1 and 5 of Title IV to rename Commonwealth Free Trade Zone Authority to Commonwealth Economic Incentive Zone Authority and for other purposes. Mr. President, if I may, I would like, and there are no objections by the member, I'd also like to request that Senate Bills number 2417 and 2415 be placed on today's calendar for action. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you, Senator Magofnia. I now recognize Senator Carl King Neighbors.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to officially introduce Senate Bill 2418 to amend 1 CMC subsection 2803 regarding the budget submission of the Department of Public Lands and for other purposes. And I would also like to introduce Senate Joint Resolution 22-04 supporting the Commonwealth Ports Authority's request for exemption from federal limitations on scheduled Chinese air service to the CNMI and for the reinstatement of Annex 6 under the U.S. Department of State's U.S.-China Air Transportation Agreement of 2007. I yield.
Thank you, Senator Carl King Neighbors. I now recognize Senator Jude Hofschneider.
Mr. President, formally introducing Senate Bill 24-01 to create a CNMI term pension plan and for other purposes. Senate Bill 24-02, to improve the food security of the CNMI by amending 4 CMC subsection 8182 and 8183 to establish agricultural water usage rates for commercial farmers, commercial renters, and livestock producers, and for other purposes. And Senate Bill 24-03, to transfer the management and supervision of the soil and water conservation districts to the Northern Marianas College, CREES, and for other purposes. And on item 21, formally introducing Senate Local Bill number 24-01 to amend the Tinian Local Law 2109 to provide for regulatorily compliant internet gaming and for other purposes. And this legislation is being co-sponsored by my colleagues from Tinian, Senator Vice President Carl King Neighbors, and Chairman Senator Francisco Q. Cruz. Thank you, Mr. President, and I yield back.
Thank you, Senator Hofschneider. I recognize Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is to officially introduce 3 bills that came successful as a legislature, and I'm reintroducing it again. And this is Senate Bill number 24-20 to establish the Hunting Act of 2025 for the Commonwealth and for other purposes, and Senate Bill number 24-21 to amend 9 CMC subsection 2103 to require execution of a notice of transfer and release of liability by appropriate parties upon the ownership transfer of vehicle. And if I may, on number bill, or should I introduce under line item L?
You want to wait until line item?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Senator Cruz. I recognize Senator Manglonia.
Thank you, Mr. President. Officially introducing Senate Bill 24-11 to regulate off-road vehicles, including ATVs, side-by-sides, and UTVs, and for other purposes. And also Senate Bill 24-19 to amend 9 CMC Section 2208D to authorize motor vehicle licensure to all residents of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands.
Thank you, Senator Manglonia. As for myself, the last bill, formally introducing Senate Bill number 24-10 to repeal Section 101 and 201D of the Executive Order 94-3 and to establish the Office of Management and Budget within the Department of Finance and for other purposes. Thank you.
Mr. President, short recess.
Short recess. We rise back from recess. Before proceeding, I'd like to recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, at the request of the author, I move to place Senate Joint Resolution number 24-01 on today's calendar.
Okay.
There's a motion offered to move Senator Carl's resolution to today's calendar, and it was seconded. Any discussion from the member? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also move to place Senate Bill number 24-15 on today's calendar, not for action. So move.
Second.
Thank you, Floor Leader. There's a motion requesting to move Senate Bill 24-15 for today's bill calendar, not for action. And it was seconded. Any discussions from the members? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to place Senate Bill number 24-16 on today's bill calendar, not for action.
Second.
Thank you, Floor Leader. There's a motion offering to move Senate Bill 24-16 to today's bill calendar, not for action, and it was seconded. Any discussions from the members? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. And lastly, I move to place Senate Bill number 24-09 on today's calendar, not for action.
Second.
Thank you, Floor Leader. There's a motion to place Senate Bill 24-09 on today's bill calendar, not for action, and it was seconded. Any discussions from the members? All those in favor say aye. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. One more, Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Also requesting to place Senate Bill 24-17 on today's calendar, not for action.
Thank you, Floor Leader. There's a motion offered by the Floor Leader to place 24-17 on today's bill calendar, not for action, and it was seconded. Any discussions from the members? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to the next item of our agenda. Item N. Reports of special conference committees. There's none. Item O. Resolution calendar. Senator Cruz.
Short recess?
Short recess, please. Moving back to item L on our agenda. I recognize Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to officially introduce on number bill, and this is to establish mandatory presentation of valid personal photo identification for any debit card or credit card transaction made in person and any check, cash exchange, or purchase for all business establishment in the Commonwealth. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Cruz. Anybody else? Okay, moving on. Item O of the agenda, resolution calendar. Recognize Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move for the adoption of House Concurrent Resolution 24-1 entitled to approve revenues and resources of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands as identified pursuant to Article 3, Section 9A of the Constitution as amended and 1 CMC Division 7 for fiscal year 2025 beginning October 1, 2024 and ending on September 30, 2025.
Second.
Thank you, Floor Leader. There's a motion offered by the Floor Leader to adopt today's concurrent resolution number 24-01, and it was seconded. Discussion by the members. Ready? Clerk, call the roll.
Senator Babalta,
Yes.
Senator Calvo,
Yes.
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator Hofschneider,
Good.
Senator King Neighbors,
Yes.
Senator Magofnia,
Yes.
Senator Magnolia.
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Mr. President, all 8 members voting yes.
Thank you, Clerk. With 8 members voting yes, this constitutes an adoption of House Concurrent Resolution 24-08, and it hereby passes the Senate. Or 24-01, and it hereby passes the Senate. Clerk, Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of Senate Joint Resolution 24-01, supporting the Commonwealth Ports Authority's request for exemption from federal limitations on scheduled Chinese air service to the CDMI and for the reinstatement of Annex 6 under the U.S. Department of State's U.S.-China Air Transport Agreement of 2007.
Second.
Thank you, Floor Leader. There's a motion to adopt 24-01, Senate Joint Resolution, and it was seconded. Discussion by the members. Clerk, call the roll.
Senator Babauta,
Good.
Senator Calvo,
Yes.
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator Hofschneider,
Good.
Senator King Neighbors,
Yes.
Senator Magofnia,
Yes.
Senator Magnolia.
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Mr. President, all 8 members voting yes.
Thank you, Clerk. With 8 members voting yes, the joint resolution 24-01 is hereby adopted. Moving on. Next item on the agenda, item P, bill calendar. Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move for the passage of House Bill number 24-6 HD1, entitled to amend the Appropriations and Budget Authority Act of Fiscal Year 2025, Public Law 23-26, to appropriate the balance of funds allocated for the minimum annual payment to the settlement fund and to return government employees subject to austerity to 100% work hours and for other purposes.
Second.
Thank you, Floor Leader. There's a motion to adopt House Bill, or there's a motion to pass House Bill 24-06, and it was seconded. Any discussions by the members? Senator Babauta.
Thank you. My question is to the council. Council, do you see any provisions here for the public school system in this amended budget, from the additional resources?
Council.
I don't recall seeing any. That's why I was asking if anybody else caught that.
Sure, recess, please. Any other discussions by the members? I recognize Senator Magofnia.
Susan Mossy, Mr. President, I just have I just have a clarifying council. So, while I support the House action to appropriate $1.8 million of the SNIL funding to fund the Health Network Program, Commonwealth Casino Commission, the legislature, and the first, second, and third senatorial districts. I just would like to clarify, absent the Appropriation Act from the SNIL delegation, is it illegal, is it legal to include that appropriation on this revised budget? Because SNIOD hasn't called a session to, properly appropriate the 1.8 million. Again, I completely support the action of the House. I just want to make sure that we are doing it legally. Thank you, Ayu.
Thank you, Senator Magofnia. I recognize our legal counsel. Sure, recess, please. Yes. Discussion from the members. Senator Babata.
Next question to the council is, council, in the proposed amended budget, there is allocation to pay for the former and current casino commissioners a portion of their back pay, which is not an obligation of the central government. And now we are diverting funds from general funds to pay for the back pay of former commissioners of the Casino Commission. Is that considered revenue diversion, which is not being used to pay for the operations of the central government? CNY Scholarship is asking again the Saipan legislative delegation for $100,000. There are other entities that are asking. The mayor's office, Saipan mayor's office, is asking for 164,000 from the Saipan delegation funds. So is this not diversion of funds to pay for the casino commissioners' back pay that is not an obligation of the central government and is included in the Schedule A? I yield.
Recognize the council.
And it does amend the section 709 of the 2025 budget and adds a new section G on page 9, line 18. So this basically is the authorization to use general funds to pay for the expenses of the casino commission. And then the language here basically says out of the $250,000, a certain amount shall be used to pay for the salaries of the commissioners under Schedule B. Schedule B is the appropriation, the breakdown of the salaries. So is it a diversion of funds? I would leave the members to answer that question, but that is the proposal in the bill. It's a proposal to amend the CNMI budget to now fund the casino commission. So that would be the prerogative of the members of the legislature.
Thank you.
Leader.
And question, how much is the total that was allocated for the former casino commissioners based on Schedule B?
It says total is out of the $250,000, $222,916 will be allocated to their salaries. Oh, I believe that's for 2023, and then for 2024, 16,250, and 2025, 10,833,
So what's the total, ma'am?
250.
250. And who are the former commissioners that will be paid for that?
According to Schedule B, it has Commissioner Edward De Leon Guerrero, Commissioner Rafael Demopon, Commissioner Mario Taitano, Ramon de la Cruz, Martin Mendiola, and Thomas Mullen. 6 commissioners total.
Thank you, council. I yield.
Any other discussion? Ready?
Just
Go ahead, Senator Schneider.
Just a short statement. Appreciate the governor's presence once again and his key staff. And I also want to recognize the work of Mr. Dave Dimapon and some of the legal counsels in concert with the House to try and arrive at a product. So we are here today to dispose of this, and I think it's important to note that in the 22 or 23 million dollars, it's very critical that we address this today because of the 80 hours reinstatement of the 80 hours of our employees and the 25% of the pensioners. So we need to give that authority further for the remainder of this fiscal year. And I'm going to continue to ask the members for their support.
Thank you, Senator Hofschneider. Clerk, call the roll.
Senator Babalta,
No.
Senator Calvo,
Yes.
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator Hofschneider,
Hungan.
Senator King Neighbors.
Yes.
Senator Magofnia,
For our government employees and our retirees, yes.
Senator Maglonia.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Mr. President, 7 members voting yes, 1 no, and 1 absent.
Thank you, Clerk. With 7 members voting yes, this constitutes a passage. House Bill 24-06 HD1 hereby passes the Senate. Moving on. Item Q on the agenda, petitions, memorial, and Clerk.
Mr. President, we have miscellaneous communication numbers 24-01 through 24-15.
Thank you, Clerk. Discussions by the members? Thank you. Moving on. Announcement. Anybody would like to make announcement? Recognize Senator Babauta. Go ahead, Senator Hofschneider.
No, I just wanted to remind the members of the PUTC committee that we're having an informational hearing on February 20th here in the Senate chamber with the CUC board. I respectfully ask that we come in and participate. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hofschneider. Recognize Senator Babauta.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to share my sentiments on what just transpired. I rose today in strong opposition of the passage of the amended budget being presented for the first and final reading without proper committee vetting. The grave concerns I have about the proposed budget is that the process was conducted in secrecy, bypassing all established procedures. It wasn't vetted in committee, not in the House, not in the Senate, and is an affront to this body. The mere budget was negotiated between 2 individuals with complete disregard for input and feedback of the members of the respective committees, and this should never be tolerated. Let me make it perfectly clear to the public. My no vote on the amended budget is not in opposition of lifting the austerity or restoring employees' hours to 80. It is not in opposition of giving money to medical referral. It is not in opposition of granting more funds to the municipality of Rhoda and Tinian. My no vote represents my opposition to paying the former members of the casino commissioners, which is an obligation of the central government. It is my no vote is in opposition of not giving public schools their due 25% as required by our Constitution. It was not referred to any committee. Members of the House just concluded their session this morning passing this budget, and many of their members expressed the same concerns that I am expressing today. This rushed process undermines the fundamental principles of transparency and due diligence that should govern every budgetary decision. My concerns with this budget extend far beyond procedural irregularities. Several substantive issues demand our immediate attention and render this budget unacceptable, illegal, and unconstitutional in its current form. First, as I mentioned, this budget proposes to allocate funds for the back pay of casino commissioners that are clearly not the obligation of the central government. This represents a dangerous expansion of government spending into areas where it has no legitimate purview. I asked today, is it revenue diversion? I agree, it is. I argue that it is. Diverting scarce resources to the extraneous project sets a dangerous precedent and ultimately harms the taxpayers of the CNMI. We will pay more in the long run. Also, I am deeply troubled of the payment of the former commissioners for the casino. It is not only questionable, but it represents a clear misallocation of funds. This is a gross misallocation of taxpayer money.
Senator Babauta, per our rule, you got a few minutes, so
Thank you.
try and wrap it up.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's no legal obligation or requirement for the central government to shoulder this burden at the expense of civil service employees who have not gotten their merit increases and who, for land compensation claimants who have not been compensated for their land taken over 30 years ago. Many have since died. So I encourage the governor, it passed today, I encourage the governor to exercise his line item veto authority by the Constitution to strike out the payment for the casino commissioners. Thank you, and I yield.
Thank you, Senator Babauta. Any other members want to wish to make announcement?
Mr. President,
Senator Schneider.
just when we're under announcement, I'm of the assumption that we're announcing something. We're not expressing a debatable item, but I just want to
Agreed.
make that clear. That,
Agreed,
If
agreed.
there's a miscellaneous item in the agenda, then let's address the concerns. No,
Agreed, Senator Schneider.
Malagnas na miscellaneous. It's not on the agenda.
Mr. President, I think I still have the floor.
Yes,
So
Senator Babauta.
I yield back, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no other announcement, floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move for the adjournment of today's session, subject to your call.
Second.
Thank you, floor leader. There's a motion and it's to adjourn today's session and it was seconded. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Motion carry. Today's session is hereby adjourned.